What if Naruto was reborn with all his memories and powers? How differently would the story of Naruto turn out with all the knowledge from his previous life? Naruto dies the way the greatest of them do. Old, surrounded by the PC build, having given everything he had to a world that finally deserved it. He opens his eyes and he is not an old man in a quiet room. He is an infant and the world around him is burning. He wakes up on the single worst night of his life, the night he was never able to remember the first time, because the first time he was only hours old, the night of the Nine-Tails attack. And this is the cruelty of his return. The wound the entire story is built on. Naruto has the complete mind of a man who lived a full life as the strongest shinobi alive, every memory and technique and hard-won truth intact, and the body of a newborn that can do absolutely nothing. He watches it happen. He watches the masked man, Obito, though no one knows the name yet, tear through Leaf's defenses. He watches Kurama ripped from his mother and turned loose on the village like a weapon. He watches his father, the fourth Hokage, the man he spent his first life trying to live up to, prepare the seal that will cost him his life. He watches his mother, Kushina, her body failing, using the last of her strength to shield the infant she just brought into the world. Naruto understands every second of it. He knows every person involved, knows exactly how it goes, knows that the two people he never got to know are about to die in front of him, and he is a newborn who cannot move, cannot speak, cannot do a single thing to stop it. He tries to scream and it comes out as a baby's cry, and his parents die exactly the way they always did. There is nothing he could do, and that helplessness becomes the thing he carries into everything that follows. Minato seals Kurama into him, the same as it always happened, and the fox comes to rest inside a child who is anything but a blank slate. For now, Kurama is only rage, the same hatred, the same centuries of being caged and used, and Naruto is only a grieving infant who just watched his family die and could do nothing. The partnership that will eventually define everything is still months away. He grows through infancy, carrying the mind of an old man and a grief no baby should hold. He cannot tell a single soul who he is, so he processes it in silence, and slowly he begins to plan, because he understands now the scale of what he has been given. He is at the very beginning, before the Chunin exams, before Sasuke's fall, before Jiraiya, before the war. Every tragedy he spent a lifetime mourning is still ahead of him, unwritten, and this time, he knows all of it before it comes. Months after the sealing, when he is finally old enough to enter his own mindscape, Naruto comes face to face with Kurama for the first time in his life. The fox expects what he always gets, a frightened child or a hateful one, someone to rage at through the bars. Instead, a toddler walks up to the seal and speaks to him by name, like an old friend, and knows things about him, his pain, his past, the truth of who he is beneath all that hatred, that no living person could possibly know. Naruto tells him everything, that he lived an entire life and died an old man, that the two of them became partners and friends, two halves of something that helped save the world, and that he has been reborn at the beginning with all of it still in him. Kurama is stunned. Everything about this child is wrong in a way that lines up with exactly one explanation, and the things he knows could not have come from anywhere else, so the fox believes him. And instead of years of hostility that defined their first life, instead of the fighting and the slow, painful road to trust, Kurama chooses to help. He begins lending Naruto his chakra in small and measured amounts, because the raw power of the Nine-Tails would tear a child's body apart, and too much too fast would kill him. He feeds it slowly, and a partnership that once took a war to build begins forming on the foundation of a friendship neither of them has lived yet, but both of them now know is coming. What Naruto has that no one else in the world could ever have is the single greatest training advantage imaginable. He knows precisely how he became strong. Every technique, every shortcut, every breakthrough, every wasted year he can now skip entirely. The Rasengan he already knows how to make, the chakra control that once took him years he can rush, and the nature transformation, the foundations of Sage Mode, and the early steps back toward his full strength are all a path he has already walked to its end. He is still bound by a child's growing body, and Kurama's power can only return so fast, but he climbs at a rate that quietly unsettles anyone paying close enough attention. And as he grows, his mind turns to the first great tragedy he has the chance to prevent, the Uchiha massacre. Naruto knows the truth that took a war and Itachi's death to finally surface, the planned coup, Danzo and the village elders, the impossible choice forced onto a boy who loved his brother more than his own life. He knows that this is the night that broke Sasuke, the wound from which everything Sasuke became would eventually flow. So Naruto sets it as his first true target, not just to save a clan, but because he understands that if he can change this one night, he can change the entire shape of the future. He spends every day racing to be ready. He knows the date and knows what is coming, and when the night arrives, with enough of his power rebuilt and Kurama's strength flowing through him, he is no longer a helpless infant watching tragedy unfold. He moves through the dark toward the Uchiha compound, racing a clock he has already watched run out once. He arrives in the middle of it, Itachi mid-mission, the weight of his orders bearing down on him, the clan already falling around him, and Naruto steps directly into his path and tells him to stop. Itachi freezes because no one is supposed to be here, and no child should be able to stand in front of him like this. Naruto looks at the man he came to understand in another life as one of the greatest and most tragic heroes the shinobi world ever produced. A man who murdered his own family and let his little brother hate him for it, all to protect a village that ordered it, and a brother he loved beyond reason. And Naruto tells him that he knows. He knows about Danzo and the elders, about the coup the Uchiha were planning, about the choice Itachi was handed slaughter his clan, or watch a civil war consume the entire village. He knows that Itachi planned to die a villain in his brother's eyes so that Sasuke could grow up believing in a hero. Hearing all of this from a child who cannot possibly know any of it, Itachi stopped cold for the first time in his life. What follows is the conversation that changes everything. Naruto offers Itachi the one thing he never had in the first life, another way. He knows what Danzo did, what the elders ordered, and the hand that Obito played in steering all of it. And he tells Itachi that it does not have to end the way he has resigned himself to it ending. With Naruto's knowledge and his growing power behind it, there is a path to expose the truth, to stop the coup without genocide, to save the Uchiha clan and Sasuke's family both. For the first time, the boy who accepted that he had to become a pawn is offered a future where he does not have to die as a villain. The choice to spare the Uchiha sends the timeline spiraling away from everything Naruto remembers. But a change this large does not come without cost. Danzo and the shadows standing behind him do not simply accept it, and Obito's plan quietly loses one of its most dangerous pieces. Naruto has tugged a thread that the most dangerous people in the world were counting on, and somewhere in the dark they begin to notice. But the payoff is everything he hoped for. Sasuke grows up with his family alive and his brother at his side, and the darkness that consumed him in the first life is never given the soil to take root. The friendship between Naruto and Sasuke forms on entirely different ground this time. Not two broken boys clinging to and clashing against each other, but a genuine bond built by someone who's already spent a lifetime fighting to bring Sasuke home and now gets to simply be his friend from the start. The thing Naruto failed at hardest in his first life, he gets right in this one. Not by chasing Sasuke out of the dark, but by making sure he never falls into it. The academy years are a childhood Naruto never had the first time. He is not the isolated, dead last acting out for scraps of attention. He is a boy carrying a Hokage's lifetime of knowledge, deliberately holding himself back to avoid drawing too much suspicion, while still quietly outpacing everyone around him. When the teams are assigned, he ends up where he is meant to be. Team 7 under Kakashi with Sasuke and Sakura. But the dynamic is unrecognizable. Sasuke is stable and whole. Naruto is secretly the most experienced shinobi in the village, and Kakashi finds himself with a team that functions far more smoothly than it has any right to. Guided from underneath by a student, nudging his teammates toward the growth he already knows they are capable of. The constant tension running through these years is the act of holding back. Naruto has the knowledge to be far stronger and far more visible than he allows himself to be, but revealing too much too soon would draw the attention of exactly the people he is not yet ready to face. Danzo, the elders, and the shadows watching from beyond the village walls. He walks a continuous line between growing strong enough to change things and staying hidden enough to survive doing it. While Kurama's power keeps returning in measured steps, his body finally growing into more of what it can hold. Then the Chunin exams arrive, and Naruto begins to let more of himself show. He moves through the written tests, the forest of death, and the preliminaries with a composure and a skill that turns heads. He's no longer hiding at the bottom. He's plainly one of the strongest genin in the exam, and people start to take real notice. But far more important than what he reveals is what he knows. He remembers what is hidden beneath these exams. He knows Orochimaru has infiltrated them, that the Sannin is there in disguise, hunting Sasuke for his body and his Sharingan. He knows about the curse mark, about the plan to strike at the village during the final round, and about the assassination of the third Hokage waiting at the end of it. In the first life, all of it blindsided the lead. This time, Naruto sees it coming from the very start, and the challenge becomes how to act on what he knows without exposing how he could possibly know it. The first event is the curse mark. In the first life, Orochimaru marked Sasuke in the forest of death and began the slow corruption that eventually pulled him into the dark. This time, Naruto knows it is coming, and he makes sure it never lands. He protects Sasuke from the curse mark entirely, slamming the door on one of the most pivotal moments of the original story before it can open, closing off the very path that destroyed his friend the first time. The harder problem is the invasion. Naruto knows it is coming, but he cannot simply announce it without explaining a source of knowledge he can never reveal. So he works quietly, putting the right pieces in the right places, making sure the people who need to be ready are ready, making sure the leaf will not be caught defenseless the way it was before. The invasion that was a devastating surprise in his first life can become a trap the village is prepared to spring if he can steer events without ever showing his hand. When the first round arrives and Orochimaru's invasion begins, the leaf is not caught flat-footed. In the first life, the attack was a disaster. The genjutsu sweeping the stadium, the sand and sound forces pouring in, chaos in every direction. This time, because of everything Naruto quietly set in motion, the village responds faster and more coordinated than Orochimaru ever anticipated. The element of surprise the entire plan depended on is gone, and it begins coming apart from the very first move. The heart of that plan was always to isolate the third Hokage. The Sound Four raising their barrier on the rooftop, sealing the old man inside along with Orochimaru so he could kill his former teacher, with no one able to interfere. Naruto knows this is the main event, and knows where it happens, and when and how, and this time he makes sure he is positioned to move before the trap can close. In the first life, the barrier was impenetrable, and the Anbu could only stand outside and watch their leader fight and die. But Naruto, with Kurama's power and the knowledge of exactly how the barrier works, is no ordinary genin. He breaks through what no one else could, getting inside the sealed space to stand beside Hiruzen Sarutobi Sarutobi, the old man who protected him, the leader he watched die the first time and eventually succeeded. This time, the Hokage does not face Orochimaru alone. Together, they rewrite the ending. Orochimaru, expecting a worn-down old man he could overwhelm, instead faces the third, backed by a Genin carrying power and knowledge no one his age should possess. And here, for the first time in public, Naruto shows a piece of what his early bond with Kurama has made possible. He draws on the fox's chakra in a controlled cloak, a few tails forming around him under his complete command, not the wild, corrosive, half-berserk version that the first life's Naruto could only access in moments of desperation and rage, but a deliberate, partnered power, called up and shaped because he and Kurama already trust each other completely. When the Sannin summons the reanimated first and second Hokage, the trump card that doomed Hiruzen the first time, they are met by a Naruto wrapped in that controlled chakra, who knows exactly what they are and exactly how to counter them. The fight that was a tragic last stand becomes a battle Orochimaru cannot win. And at the crucial moment, the moment when in the first life the third gave his own life with the dead demon consuming seal and managed only to seal away Orochimaru's arms, Naruto stops it from ever reaching that point. With his help, Orochimaru is driven off before the old man has to sacrifice himself. The Sannin forced into retreat with his invasion collapsing and his prize beyond his reach. The third Hokage lives. The man Naruto could only mourn the first time walks off that rooftop alive, and the village keeps the leader it lost in the original telling. The invasion ends in a decisive failure for Orochimaru. Rather than the bitter survival, it was the first time. The leaf stands, the third lives, Sasuke is safe and unmarked, and the Sannin slinks away with nothing to show for his gambit. But Naruto knows this is only the beginning, because the deeper threats are still waiting in the dark. Years pass, and the time skip with Jiraiya unfolds, but the dynamic is nothing like the first time. Naruto is not a struggling student learning the fundamentals. He is retracting a path he has already mastered, and Jiraiya finds himself baffled by a boy who absorbs everything almost before it is taught. By the end of it, Naruto has done the impossible. He has not merely rebuilt his power, he has reclaimed nearly all of it. The bond with Kurama that formed in infancy and deepened across the years has matured into full Kurama chakra mode. The complete golden cloak, the overwhelming speed and strength that, in the first life, Naruto did not reach until the depths of the war. Sage mode 2 is already long mastered. In the first life, the reason Naruto was never there to save Jiraiya was that he was still at Mount Myoboku learning to be a sage, only completing that training after his godfather was already gone. This time he retraced that path early and finished it years ahead. So the only thing that kept him away the first time is already behind him. His full strength is his again. And this time he reached it before the war, before the deaths, before it was ever too late. This time skip carries a weight the first one never did, because Naruto knows what is coming for Jiraiya. He knows that in the first life, his godfather, the closest thing he ever had to a father, left to investigate pain and the Akatsuki and never came back, dying alone in the rain in the hidden rain village. His death, something Naruto only learned of after the fact. That loss defined a huge part of who he became. This time, he spends these years quietly determined that it will not happen again. When the Akatsuki step up their campaign and pain turns toward the leaf and its 9 tails, Jiraiya sets out for the hidden rain to investigate their mysterious leader, walking toward the same trap that killed him before. But this time, he does not walk alone, and he does not walk in blind, because Naruto already mastered Sage Mode years ago. He has no reason to be off training with the Toads the way he was the first time, and every reason to stand beside his godfather. So he goes with him on the mission. He arrives at the hidden rain carrying the very secret Jiraiya died to uncover for the first time, that the 6 paths of pain are corpses animated from a distance, that the real Nagato is hidden elsewhere, controlling them all. The fight that killed Jiraiya alone becomes a different battle entirely with Naruto beside him at full strength. He already knows each body's ability, knows how they coordinate, knows where every weakness lies. With Sage Mode and full Kurama Chakra Mode at his command, he faces the paths that overwhelmed his godfather and turned the ambush on his head. The trap meant to be Jiraiya's lonely death becomes the place where Pain's assault is broken and Jiraiya lives. The man whose death Naruto mourned for the rest of his first life walks out of the rain alive, because this time, Naruto was there. With Jiraiya alive and the secret of pain in their hands together, they reach Nagato, and not with power alone. Naruto carries the words that turned him the first time. Now reinforced by the presence of Jiraiya, the teacher who believed in his student long before war twisted him into something else. Faced with his old master alive and a boy who understands his pain better than anyone should, Nagato is given the chance to choose differently, to become the answer Jiraiya always hoped for, rather than the weapon Obito made of him. The threat of pain ends not with another death, but by breaking the chain of hatred that forged him in the first place. From there, Naruto goes on the offensive, with his full power back and his complete knowledge of the organization. He moves against the Akatsuki before they can finish what they started. He knows every member, their abilities, their weaknesses, their locations, their plans, and he knows exactly how each of them was beaten the first time, with the strength of the leaf and his own immense power. He dismantles the organization piece by piece before it can capture the tailed beast and light the fuse of the war. The threats that took the entire shinobi world to overcome the first time fall to someone who already knows how every one of them ends. But Naruto knows the Akatsuki were never the true enemy, only a front. Behind them stood Obito, the masked man who killed his parents the night he was reborn, working in the shadows toward the Eye of the Moon plan. As Naruto tears the organization apart, he forces Obito's hand, drawing him out before his plan is ready. This time, Obito does not get to orchestrate a war from the dark. He is confronted directly by a Naruto who knows exactly who he is, exactly what he lost, and exactly what he is trying to do. The confrontation carries everything. This is the man whose attack killed Minato and Kushina, the architect of so much of the suffering in Naruto's first life. But Naruto also knows the truth of him, a boy who once dreamed of becoming Hokage, broken by the death of the woman he loved and manipulated by Madara into believing the real world was no longer worth saving. So Naruto fights him with full power, but as he did with Nagato, he fights for the person buried underneath as much as against the enemy in front of him. He knows exactly how Obito was finally reached the first time, and he carries that understanding into the fight, the chance to turn the broken man back before his plan can doom the world. And then there is the truth that almost no one ever knew, that behind Obito, behind Madara, behind all of it, the true hand pulling every string was Black Zetsu, the will of Kaguya, manipulating events across generations toward the resurrection of its mother. In the first life, this surfaced only at the very end, after immense cost. This time, Naruto knows from the start, when Black Zetsu moves to twist events back toward its design, to betray Obito and Madara the way it always intended, to steer everything toward Kaguya's return. Naruto is ready for it, exposing the manipulator before it can spring the betrayal that blindsided everyone the first time. And with that, the entire chain that led to the catastrophe of the first life comes apart. The plan that needed Obito's deception, the Akatsuki's collection of the beasts, the war, Madara's resurrection, and Black Zetsu's final betrayal, all of it unravels because Naruto attacked it at every stage with the knowledge of exactly how it was meant to unfold. The masterminds who counted on secrecy and inevitability find themselves outmaneuvered by the one person alive who had already seen the ending. The future the shadows spent generations building toward is undone, not by a war that costs everything, but by a man who lived through the war once and came back to make sure it never had to happen again. Make sure to subscribe and smash the like button for more Naruto videos.